Well, I mean, one of the ones that's, I think, is a bigger focus for everybody just because of the day of what we've got going on right now in the world. It's eventually everything bleeds. It ends up reaching you.
Yeah.
When we talk about as far as, the immigration stuff. And I mean, just the other day, we had a guy who was arrested who was plotting to go shoot up some of the churches because he had sworn his allegiance to ISIS. These are things that it's just going to keep building. We've had more and more pursuits that have taken place. They've had, I think, 3 within the last month. So I think the can's been kicked down the road quite a bit as far as the law enforcement because we have so many holes. And, for taxpayers, they're paying for a service. And when you have, close to 100 job vacancies, I mean, basically that we've collected taxes for something a service that was never given, right? So for me, we need to get to the level of, okay, let's fill the holes on our law enforcement, our jail, get our, prosecuting attorneys, get all of the stuff that we need for our public safety in order. Because we live in a place where it's the safest place in the world. Well, how do we have the safest place in the world when you've got so many holes in your law enforcement, and it's because of pay? They've kicked it down the road so much that we lose more money in training and hours with officers. I mean, in the last 10 years, I think that the estimated amount was $3.5 million that we lost. And if we're not matching, like, let's say Coeur d'Alene, for instance, to where we don't lose officers to go to court, to that, we're not only saving what we've put in for invested for training wise, but also the time and the experience and the knowledge that they have. So that's probably one of the biggest things, getting that can from stop being kicked down the road. I think there's been, between the county employees, there's a lot on between the clerks that are down at the sheriff's department versus the ones that are down at the county, and then of course with the sanitation, that they've lumped them as far as, well, they're just a county employee. And they want the division because they all have different hiring processes. And that, I think, is something that should have been done a long time ago, to make it fair. You can't have 2 county clerks. One works at the sheriff's office and has to go through an extensive background like what deputies do, and then have somebody that's down in the county building that goes through a normal HR process and they have the same wage. If you're doing deputy duties, then there needs to be some difference in there for those people, and that's just been one of those things that's been passed along for so long. I think the other thing, we don't know right now where we're going to be at after. I mean, the bill is still coming up on this justice building. We don't know what the final tally is going to be. I mean, we went from starting at 22 million to now at 34, but apparently they've pulled reserves from all the other departments, to try to, bring that down. But those are mistakes we can't have. And so we don't know, after this year, as far as, okay, what's the cleanup, on these things? No different than our dispatch center. I mean, that went to shambles. We've got 9 dispatchers for 180,000 people, and it took $200,000 to fix it. And then all of a sudden, we've got all these applications. I mean, that's not a supervisor issue. That's a money issue because it took money to solve the problem, right? So with that now, because the fact that this can was kicked down the road for so long, we're paying now taxpayers over $100,000 for 2 mobile dispatchers for 3 months. Now, with this being a high-stress job, not everybody's going to make it onto, into the, on the radio instantaneously. They could need more training, and so then what ends up happening is now we're going to be paying, I think it's a roughly $37,000 a month additionally that we have these people here. That's an expensive mistake,
Yeah.
So that would be, trying to get all of our public safety in order, I think is probably the biggest priority. And then figuring out what we have for cost-wise to where we're not losing as much as we should be for mistakes. And then I think the other thing, we've got a real issue in the community development. You've got people that are waiting 7 months for building permits. I mean, it used to be where you'd have one commissioner who didn't want the building, go with the building permit thing. It was either permits or no permits, And it was mainly because of the fact that they go off of this international code thing. And of course, I think that one commissioner didn't like the wording of international, but it creates problems. And so I think realistically, we need a couple more inspectors to make the process go a lot quicker. And then I think at the same time, we also need contractors and everybody for what's expected for when it comes onto their plate, that way they're not having to kick it back and then throw it at the bottom of the pile. So I think we just need to, these are some of the bigger things that need to be taken care of to where make happiness for everybody.